the main focus, really, what motivated me in all this is that when I see on in the press and in our TV screens and all that, politicians talking about growth rates all the time, and financial markets reacting to a 0.025 or something change in interest rates, moving the economy around. I think, what a waste. These things are completely meaningless. These tiny changes that you see, they don't mean anything. Most of them are due to statistical mistakes anyway, when the data are very recent. But fair enough, getting a higher income year in, year out is a very good thing, because we increase our standard of living, we can help poorer people, we can help the government to run a more efficient health service and educational system. But ultimately, to achieve these higher incomes, we need to work. And if we hate our work, if we experience clinical depressions or mental illnesses, is it all worth it? And the answer is it's not worth it to put all our attention on one side and not the other. We should be running these two objectives in parallel: improve well-being alongside productivity and growth. Now, what is well-being? Sometimes people use objective measures of well-being, like absenteeism from work because you hate going to work, so you stay home, or medically proven depression, counted as disability. But I think these measures of well-being are very limited. In my view, the subjective measures, responses to questionnaires, are much more encompassing. When you ask people, how do you feel about your work? And they just reply. That takes everything into account. And we're so diverse in the way we're approaching our life, but I think that's the best way of thinking about well-being, and that's indeed the way that I always think of it when I talk about it. Now, we know that there are changes in technology taking place all the time, and changes in technology necessitate the transition of workers from one type of work in the labor market, one role, if you like, in the labor market, to another. It might necessitate a job change, closure of companies, new startups, new areas becoming famous. At one time in the United States, Pittsburgh was the hive of activity. Now it's California and Silicon Valley. In Britain, at one time, it was Birmingham and the West Midlands. Now it's London, and they're referring to Birmingham as the industrial coffin or something similar like that. There are changes taking place all the time. Workers need to adapt to these changes. And how do they do it? Well, companies can do certain things to achieve smooth transitions for workers. And there is no better way to start doing that by making sure that their workers enjoy a good work environment and provide good training facilities for them to ensure that the transitions are smooth. And once they do that, then they will get benefit to their company as well as to the workers themselves. Now, currently, we're going through a lot of turmoil in production because of new technologies. Many refer to it as the fourth industrial revolution. It's based on automation technologies. And it's quite easy to think of the automation technologies. They're really of two kinds. One is robotics, robots doing the work. And the other is AI, which is basically software built into computers, into machines that solve problems or make decisions on your behalf. These technologies are currently the biggest cause of change in labor markets. They have the potential to improve well-being and achieve sustainable and inclusive growth. They also have something I'm not going to go into, but since I heard a climate person speak before, they do have the potential to reduce waste and climate deterioration in many dimensions, and they are being used in that along that dimension now as well. But if we're going to do all these things, they have to be used well. They can also be abused. And unfortunately, the science so far are not good in how we're applying them. Inequality is high and is not falling. In fact, these new automation technologies are encouraging inequality as well. You can see the mega-rich people that are digital entrepreneurs. AI being capable of influencing work at all levels, except perhaps for the very, very senior one, but even that one is coming. We don't know precisely how much is being used because it's embodied in software that is not directly observed, unlike robots, which are self-propelled independent units, and we could count them. There is certainly a lot of hype about AI. Workers seem to live in fear of losing their jobs, and about 80% of employers say that they are using AI at work. But so far, the evidence shows that workers are not justified in their fears, and employers are using it in simple applications like cameras to watch remote parts of the office, or remote working, like working from home. At governmental level, the most frequent use of AI is surveillance of all kinds, like watching movement in public places, in airports, in government offices, and so on. The general view is that the use of AI is still very limited, but we must prepare for it because it's coming. In my view, more worrying than this is that we don't know in what form it's coming, as we have a lot of choice how to develop it. So far, the development of AI has not been in the direction that most people would want it to be, to improve well-being, and I pointed that out already. In research that we did, even at the more basic level, in research that we did at the Institute for the Future of Work in London, we found that in Britain, many applications of AI have reduced the quality of work, at least as perceived by the workers. In other words, workers are not happy to see AI being introduced. In most cases, not everywhere. Traditional AI, which carries out commands based on data, is finding many applications and is predictable where it's going. There is nothing to worry about it, in other words. It speeds up your calculations and so on. But generative AI, which makes decisions and has much more capability to analyze data and language, can do many more tasks. Recent developments, which have reduced the computing capacity needed to execute it, are major advances in the application of Gen AI, and of course, Geoff Hinton, I mentioned, was instrumental in this development. Large language models like ChatGPT are ones that are threatening even professional jobs, such as paralegals, civil servants, and programmers. But despite these capabilities of AI, one thing that we can say with some confidence is that we are unlikely to face a job shortage across the economy. In other words, AI is not taking your jobs away. It's taking some jobs away, but many more are being created at the same time. So we should not be asking, where are the jobs going to come from in the world of AI, which is a question many parents ask me sometimes, which sector is going to have lots of jobs being created? What you should be asking is, what skills do I need to work effectively in the world of AI? And then let the economy create the jobs wherever. Now, it's easy to guess the general type of skills that will be in demand in the age of AI. And they are of two kinds, at opposite ends of the training that they need. They're the new technology skills and what you might call the soft skills, the person-to-person interaction skills. In terms of numbers, employers will still want new recruits to possess the old-fashioned skills of good communication with clients and colleagues, assertiveness in decision-making, ability to take initiatives, and ability to build a customer base and maintain it. In other words, skills that only humans can do and work either in a managerial setting or in the provision of personal service. All that what I'm telling you, by the way, is based on statistical work, but there's no time to tell you about how we did my work. New technical skills are also emerging. Employers are also looking for workers who will have the technical expertise to navigate the latest digital technologies. work with new servers in the cloud and be able to deal with cybersecurity, dealing with people ranks high even in the IT sector, as in onboarding and talent acquisition, which use a lot of IT information. Now, another question that I'm always asked, where should our children parents say, should we make them train in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics? The answer to this question might be obvious to you, but there are some subtleties involved. I would say, yes, give them some basic knowledge, encourage them to take some basic knowledge in STEM, but don't be misled that that's where the future of human work is. Many STEM-related tasks can be done by AI, and as the use of AI is expanding, fewer STEM-trained professionals will be needed. AI is not good at empathy, and that's where human labor will always be wanted, especially in our aging societies. AI machines might be good at diagnosing health problems and even performing operations, but their capabilities do not even get close to humans in providing care and support for older people. The challenge for this person-to-person service job is how to make them attractive for large numbers of workers, especially new entrants to the labor market. These sectors are predominantly labor-intensive and low productivity growth sectors, so they need to be supported by the rest of the economy. And the problem is aggravated by the fact that in several countries in Europe, the public sector plays a big role as employer in these sectors. And we should be very careful in the way that we treat the education and health sectors, because the way that we're going, standards will fall and will not be the only problem that we'll be facing. We're also going to get more inequality between the minority who have the technical skills and the majority who have not. And the inequality will not be corrected by making more of us acquire the technical skills, because the jobs will simply not be there. Now, we do have many challenges in the labor markets. The question I'm going to ask next actually is probably the most interesting from my point of view, which is how are workers coping in this world of challenges? And this is based again on many interviews and things that we did as part of the project I mentioned before. Now, surveys of workers' attitudes to work have proliferated recently as part of life happiness surveys. They find that losing your job is one of the life events that gives most unhappiness, along with illness or death in the family and divorce, apparently. But being at work is one of the activities that gives most stress and dissatisfaction, especially some things associated with work, like commuting or seeing your boss. Only being sick in bed scores consistently below being at work. In other words, if you lose your job, you feel as unhappy as when someone dies in your family or your friends, or some people because they get divorced. But going to work makes you feel unhappy again, and the only event in your life that you feel more unhappy than going to work is being sick in bed. So it sounds like a contradiction. You know, you hate doing it, but you cannot do without it. Now, you might ask, shouldn't this how life should be? No one should feel happier working than pursuing leisure activities off work. Otherwise, there would be no reason to pay people to work. But there is room for improvement. When workers are asked about what would make them feel better at work, they mention better communication with managers, more transparency in the company's activities and plans, don't keep them in the dark, better social relations at work, make sure you have breaks and you go and see people you work with and ask them to have a coffee with you informally, more time flexibility, make it available for employees to work at home if they want, if it's possible, more autonomy in choosing their role in the organization. And then it's after all that people also mention that more money would be good as well. There are also variations across workers. For example, professional people feel better at work than non-professionals. Now, recent automation technologies seem to be making these things worse. Studies of connections between the risk of automation and subjective well-being find negative correlations, so workers in jobs that run a higher risk of automation express less job satisfaction than those in safer jobs. clearly workers' well-being could be improved than the current situation. If we all cared about worker well-being and we made it public, we will have a better chance to persuade employers to take on measures to improve working conditions. In other work that we did based on how workers feel about their work, we found that some technologies improve well-being at work, others make it worse. For example, the use of laptops, tablets, smartphones, and real-time messaging tools are associated with an improved quality of life for workers. Workers also feel they have more flexibility and autonomy at work, but technologies associated with AI, surveillance, or automation increase anxieties, partly because of fear of job loss, but also because some good features of traditional types of work, such as enjoying uninterrupted free time away from work, might be lost. In other words, although workers like to have tablets and iPhones and use WhatsApp and all that to do their work, they hate being called on a Saturday evening at 8 o'clock and be told there is something that you need to do by tomorrow, kind of thing. In fact, that's the thing they hate most, actually. Surveillance is the thing. Cameras in the office are the things they hate most. And next comes this interruption of your free time. Now, flexibility in the choice of hours by the worker is another frequently mentioned feature of good work. Several studies concluded, since the pandemic especially, concluded that flexibility of work time is desired. When people are looking for an employer, they choose employers who are more relaxed about where you do your work. If you have a child that leaves school because he's sick, that the employer willingly lets you go take care and all that. In other words, have flexible working time. And initially it surprised me, but not anymore. There is support for a 4-day working week, and there's been some experiments, pilot experiments, where it received a lot of support. And even in America now, something like 1/3 of workers, when they are asked, they say a 4-day week would be good, even if it has some implications about the money you get paid. So I think very soon we're going to have Monday to Thursday working, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3-day weekend, and let that come, in my view. Thank you.